Now, if I talk about the electric vehicle space in the Indian market, especially the premium electric vehicle space, well, that's perhaps the most happening right now. And a lot of that action has been coming from Mercedes Benz. Today, they're ready to add a new member to the party in the form of this, the Mercedes Benz EQA. Well, I'm in Jaipur today to get my hands on the car, and I'm going to tell you everything there is to know about the car and find out if it is worth your attention. Now, before we get into the design aspect of the car, this is a question I really want an answer from you in the comment section down below. What do you think of it? And is this the perfect size of a premium electric vehicle that you should buy in our market? Having said that, I'll also take this opportunity to ask you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit that bell notification icon, like the video, share it with your friends. Come on, you know the drill. You know what YouTube likes. We have to feed the beast, because it helps us bring you such content to your screens. With that out of the way, let's talk about design. Now let's start off with the design of the car, and the first thing that you will notice is the road presence of the EQA, which is identical to the GLA, the car that it is based on. Now, the thing to note is that it is adaptation of the GLA, which is an internal combustion engine car, to an EV, and as a result, you get a car that looks largely the same, but Mercedes-Benz has gone the distance to make sure that it comes across as an EV almost immediately. So let's take a look at those elements one by one. Let's start off with the front. The first thing that stands out is this large blanked off grille over here with gloss black finish. It really does look nice. It has a lot of these star-studded patterns, 3D star-studded patterns across it, which looks rather premium. Other than that, you do get the connected light design up here in the front, and you'll see at the back as well, which is in line with other EQ range of cars that Mercedes-Benz makes. At the lower half, you get some of the chrome, which again gives it that premium touch. Now let's move on to the side, and what I really like are these 19-inch 10-spoke AMG alloy wheels. I think that lend a special character to the car. Of course, these have some blanked out elements too in order to make them more aerodynamic. Coming here, well, again, you see more chrome on the door handles, along the window line, and here at the bottom as well. And the overall theme is that you get a lot more chrome finish than the GLA, but the profile still does look quite similar to what the GLA does. Coming to the back, well, this again is the big differentiating factor, which comes in from the connected light design, which is also in line with other EQ range, as I mentioned earlier. Again, even more chrome here on the lip of the boot and down here at the bumper as well. All in all, it's a pretty good looking car, and I think it definitely stands out from the crowd. Now, stepping into the EQA, well, it's a familiar Mercedes-Benz cabin. We've seen this in other entry-level cars from Merc, but this time around as well, just like the outside, there are some neat touches that set it apart and up the premium quotient, starting with these rose gold accents on the AC vents, which look really nice. And what also is quite nice is this element right here on the dash with a lot of these stars on it. And interestingly, I mean, it's daytime now, but we'll try to get a shot of it. In the night, these stars light up with the ambient lighting in the car, and of course, as a result, it's 64 types of colors that you can choose from, and it can be adjusted based on the mood lighting that you have in the cabin. And I think that, coupled with the rose gold vents, really makes this car feel a lot more premium. Is it more of a gimmick? Yes, but it does make an impact. Other than that, of course, we have to talk about screens. Both of them are digital, crisp, high quality, great graphics, easy to read, no complaints whatsoever. You just have to be okay with the size, because this generation, this series of cars still does not get the vertical infotainment system layout. I think it's still a couple of years away, but this leaves us no complaints whatsoever. Talking of driving ergonomics, well, it's a really comfortable place. You do get the feeling of being seated up high when you're driving around in the city, and that's a feeling that SUV lovers will like. Of course, you get the sporty flat bottom steering wheel over here with touch-based controls. Now, I've not been a big fan of these controls because everything is touch-based, but you do get used to it over time. Other than that, we have to talk about some features, the prime amongst which has to be the fact that you get a 12-speaker Burmester sound system, 700 something watts. It's really nice, and given the fact that this car comes with Apple CarPlay, Android Auto and the lot, you can actually play lossless Dolby Atmos audio as well. It is something nice if you're into it. Now coming to the rear seat of the EQA, I've set the driver's seat as per my height. For reference, I'm 5'10", and you can see the amount of knee room I have on offer. I can slide my feet fairly much underneath the front seat as well. And I also get a drop-down armrest with pop-out cup holders. Quite nice. Overall, it's a comfortable place to be in. A couple of things to keep in mind. First thing is that, as you can see, I'm seated a bit knees up. My guess is because they've had to fit the battery somewhere in the car, since this was originally an internal combustion engine car, the GLA, and because of which the seating position is rather unconventional, but I guess you can get used to it. It is something you really need to try out if you're planning to buy this car. Other thing to note is the amount of headroom on offer. It's decent at best, but if you were over 6 feet tall, well, you might find this place a little bit cramped. Other things to note: 2-part sunroof and adjustable headrests for all 3 passengers at the back, and of course you get rear AC vents too. Well, now that we're done talking about almost every single aspect of the car, I want to talk about driving, and immediately the first thing that you notice is the acceleration you have on board. Given the fact that this is an EV, the moment you put your foot down on the throttle, you feel that acceleration, and it's big enough that it will throw your head back to the seat if that is something you're into. It gives you that party trick to make your passengers feel that you're in a properly quick car. Having said that, we also have to talk about driving dynamics. We have to talk about the suspension setup, and on that front, well, the EQA really does show its weight. Don't get me wrong, the EQA does deal with almost every type of road condition that you can throw at it, but out here, while we are on these lovely highways around Jaipur, when you feel those undulations under the car, you really feel the weight of the vehicle, and almost always there's a little bit of movement, vertical movement happening on the car. But all in all, it's still a very comfortable place to be in. What's also nice is the amount of sound insulation that you have inside the cabin. You don't really hear anything, and being an EV, there's no engine noise either. If anything, you hear the tires a little bit, but that is something you expect out of an EV anyway. Another interesting thing about the EQA is the fact that it comes with paddle shifters on board. Now, why would you have that on an EV? You don't have a transmission, right? Well, Mercedes Benz has given you different levels of recuperation that you can play between. What you can do is adjust that between 3 levels, and you can see that on your instrument cluster as well, what level you're in. And depending on whether you're on normal or more or reduced, that simulates engine braking experience that you would feel in a normal ICE car, and that makes the driving experience feel a lot more natural. The plus side to that is when you want a little bit of a help with your range anxiety, in theory at least, this will add a little bit of that to your total driving range as well. All in all, the Mercedes Benz EQA finds itself in a very competitive market. You've got the likes of the iX1, you've got the Hyundai Ioniq 5, the Kia EV6, you even have the Volvo XC40 Recharge, all of them playing somewhere around the idea of having a small, affordable electric car that does not compromise on premiumness. So the EQA really has its work cut out. And on that front, I think it really stands itself apart with the build quality, the finesse in how everything has been put together. What will give you a big presence of mind, however, is the range on offer. Now, it claims about 550-ish kilometers on the WLTP cycle on full charge, but realistically it should be about 400 kilometers that you can expect in real world driving conditions, which I have to say is actually quite a lot. It will not give you any range anxiety as long as you make sure that your car is charged on time.
And that's really the whole essence of the EQA. Everything about it feels just right, and it feels like a safe bet. You see, the EQA does not do anything spectacularly different from other cars in its segment, but what it does do is that it delivers on your expectations just good enough. And if you were to ask me today, a jack of all trades but master of none kind of an electric car is just what you need. It has been launched in India at a price tag of 66 lakh rupees, and that makes it the most affordable EV from Mercedes as expected. After spending a day driving this car, I believe perhaps its biggest draw is that it is a sum of good experiences that make it great, along with a 3-pointed star or stars that it wears all over.